Welcome back to yet another tantalizing episode of Touching the Stove. I am your host, Amadou C. I am joined here with my co-host, Desiree Anani. What's up, Desiree? How are you? Talk to me. Talk to the people. Talk to the people today.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. We hope that you enjoyed last week's episode and you gave yourself an opportunity to breathe and relax, because although we are excellent, it can very much be exhausting. Now that we've rested, let's get back to the chase and the hustle, right? Today, dude, what are we talking about?
Alright, if you guys have been keeping up with the news, then you'll know that recently a mangaka has passed away, Akira Toriyama. He is the creator of Chrono Trigger, a bunch of other works, Dr. Slump, and most importantly, Dragon Ball Z. And you might be wondering, well, what does that have to do with a communications podcast? Well, on today's episode, we're going to talk about the influence that anime has had on the black community. It's a topic that, if you ask me, hasn't been studied enough. It went from you're weird from watching anime to that doesn't count. That specific anime doesn't count. Like Dragon Ball Z is in that category of like everybody watched it in the early 90s and early 2000s. As a lot of you are probably aware, Dragon Ball Z is how do I even describe it at this point? Dragon Ball Z is a cultural phenomenon. It is a martial arts show that follows a main character named Goku in his adventures, not only across Earth, but across the universe, as he works hard to become the strongest in the universe. In so doing, that show has touched the hearts of millions across the world, not only in the black community, but across America, South America, Brazil. I don't think there's a country that show hasn't touched, honestly. Everywhere you go, you could probably find some sort of Goku fan art from all types of different countries. And we would be remiss after the passing of Akira Toriyama to not talk about it here on this show and just be timely with the news. But of course, we would not be touching the stove if we didn't introduce some communication theory to the episode. So what theory are we going to use to tackle this today, Desiree? Tell me.
You know, this theory is one that we don't necessarily have to go to the books for. It's not one that we even have to go to the research dockets for. This theory is something that I think each and every one of us is very much aware of, and that is influence. So influence is having the ability to impact, to change, or to suggest a variation, or dare I even say a pivot. So when you think of influence, you think of role models, you think of pop culture, you think of culture in and of itself, customs, traditions, values. Those are different aspects that allow us to determine the decisions that we want to make. They allow us to determine what we want to be entertained by, and they even probe our minds to ask various questions.
And what questions do you have as a person who doesn't watch any sorts of it? I mean, I try to introduce you to Death Note, but I don't know what you like that show.
I did.
You did, right?
Do is like very committed to this narrative that I know nothing about anime.
You don't,
and I will let.
And if you say Sailor
that.
Moon, I'm gonna be upset.
No, Sailor Moon was lit.
What?
Sailor Moon was cute.
So,
Sailor Moon had the fit. Sailor Moon had the school.
I want to expose Desiree.
And
she
then,
did not hear of Dragon Ball Z until I brought it to her attention.
What?
She did not know it existed. She.
Who did not know about Dragon Ball Z? As a matter of fact, I know we're talking.
Say it again. Who didn't know about what?
Ball Z.
Yeah. Correct yourself.
English is really hard for me today, you all. I'm struggling. I've been code switching and language switching all the time. But no, something that I know we're gonna talk about Dragon Ball Z and we're gonna dive deep into it. I literally went to dinner with one of my girlfriends and we were talking about Pokemon. And not only that, but
another 90s classic.
No. But listen, we were talking about Pokemon and its modern day impact and how we had people literally playing. Do you remember the era of Pokemon Go?
Oh man, that was a crazy. That's 2016.
It was really
2016 was an interesting time.
People were running around meeting
chasing
strangers,
Pokemon,
chasing imaginary Pokemons. And people even got hurt. because you took the Pokemon that I was trying to catch. So again,
wait, did you play Pokemon? You know what's crazy? I didn't play it.
I didn't play it either. I was like, it's a little bit Looney Tunes for me, and it's giving stalkers because like people were tracking each other.
Y'all heard that? Hey, I want it loud and clear. She said, if you watch anime, you're a Looney Tunes.
No, that's not what I said. I said playing Pokemon Go
is for losers.
No,
you heard it here first.
I did not say that, Jew. But what I'm saying is, to bring it back full circle, we are talking about influence. We saw art imitate life. We saw people literally dedicate time, effort, energy, and mind power to reliving something that they were so content with from their childhood with that experience.
Right.
So that goes to show you that I don't know anything about anime, but I just gave you a whole historical context.
Oh yeah.
And
When was Dragon Ball Z first syndicated in the United States? I thought
1940.
No, 1940. Whoa. Anyway.
1965.
No.
2004.
2004 is way too late. Stop it.
1997.
So for me and many other black boys and girlies across the United States, Dragon Ball Z was like a third parent. It was on after school at about 2:30 to about 5 o'clock, depending on what. Why are you looking at me like that?
I don't know. I just didn't have that lived experience.
Because you weren't in them trenches.
No, I wasn't.
You weren't. You wasn't in them anime trenches. Not like how you wasn't.
I was in the telenovelas.
We gonna talk. We gonna talk about those. That's coming up in a future episode. I'd be remiss. There's this telenovela. It's called Hidden Passions. It is the best show I have ever seen in my life. Anyway, no, sorry. One of top 10 best top 10. Anyway, back to the topic at hand. When you're coming home from school, from kindergarten, I remember, so Dragon Ball Z first made its way into most television households around 1989. And then from there, it was syndicated on Cartoon Network, specifically Toonami on their anime block. We're talking like 1994 till about maybe 2003 or 2004 that they, its initial run from the Saiyan saga, which is like the first chapter, all the way up until the end or its conclusion, which is the Buu saga. So that's like the finale. And I remember, and a lot of people who I have spoken to, it also has this shared memory, this moment in time, if you would, coming home after school or after kindergarten or whatever age you were coming home from, or coming home after playing outside, and without fail, every day, Dragon Ball Z was on, or Dragon Ball Z adjacent. It might have been Pokemon, it might have been Yu-Gi-Oh, it might have been, Yu-Gi-Oh. It was all in the same time block. And Toonami was the pioneer of that, of introducing my generation into anime. But for me, what I want to talk about is, at first, I didn't know this was an anime. To me, it was just a normal cartoon. No different than Powerpuff Girls or Dexter's Lab or Johnny Bravo, Ed, Edd and Eddy. It came on right in the middle of all those shows. And what all those shows had in common, apart from violence, was that it had something to say. And in the case of Dragon Ball Z, it's about struggle to be the best when literally everybody around you can kick your ass. I'm so serious. Like, every episode, there's somebody stronger than Goku. He fights, they beat him up for like 4 episodes straight. He gets a power up and then he wins. You know, but like, he had to get kicked and beat and body just like practically almost every bone in his body practically broken before he catch a dub. And imagine like you're first introduced to this character and 4 episodes in he dies. Like, I'm not even kidding. Like it was like 4 or 5 episodes in, he straight up dies. That's not a spoiler, by the way. Like, you know, this show has been out for 40 years. Like at this point. If you haven't seen it by now, I don't know what else to tell you. But in like episode 5, he dies straight up. And we're left with Piccolo, who is another staple in, like, I would say the black anime consciousness, particularly for the way that he dresses and also for his relationship to Goku's son, Gohan, and how him having to essentially not only be a mentor to this kid, but also a friend, practically a father and son type of relationship that they had, even though Gohan's biological dad was dead. And to see that, and to see how their relationship developed, to see how they looked out for one another, is something that a lot of children, me myself included, related massively growing up.
Amen.
But you didn't have that experience, right? You're the Sailor Moon crew.
Not you didn't have that experience.
But you mentioned that earlier. So tell me more about that, because we're in the same generation, Zillennials. Yeah,
we are.
You grew up.
So I grew up with
what?
The cutesy, I guess,
like Hello Kitty.
Hello Kitty, Boys Over Flowers, Sailor Moon. Yeah, Boys Over Flowers. Yo, we were reading the mangas. I mean, it was cute. It was cool. It like, I think back to middle school, right? Or I think back to like late elementary school. I'm gonna say 5th, 6th grade, up until honestly even high school. I think that is kind of what was the pivot point or the introduction for a lot of people now loving K-dramas, C-dramas, like all the international works kind of started with the animes. And
you're saying
mangas.
The love, because there are some like sect of black girlies who are really, really into K-pop. Oh, I always found that strange, but now that you broke it down to
BTS,
me, because I never saw the connection. But until you said that, it never occurred to me that stems too from anime.
It does, and I mean, even the Hello Kitty girlies. The Hello Kitty
I do remember,
lifestyle.
like in like 1st grade, 2nd grade, girls had that little Hello Kitty little keychain on their backpack.
Keychain,
I remember
the water bottles.
Yeah,
I mean,
the stickers
on your on everything, your notebooks. Like it was a big deal, and I think that again, we came from different angles of it, right?
Right.
I came from the lighthearted, fun, fluffy, it's cute, it's chic. You came from, okay, I'm going to get the lessons. I'm going to learn something. I'm going to be challenged in my thought models. I'm going to kind of see the different...
Well, actually, no, that's not how it started.
Well, I mean, but you ended up getting to that point.
I did get to, I developed over time.
Correct.
A deep appreciation for the story. But it started with the straight up violence. At 2 or 3, seeing someone get punched in the face in space was like the coolest thing ever. Like I couldn't get enough of it. And then
that explains a lot. I can understand that now.
And guys, I people of this podcast, I want you to know Desiree is incredibly on the mic. She is sweetheart, but off the mic, this woman is disrespectful. That's all I want to say.
I am not disrespectful. Don't lie to the people.
They can't see your face as you say it, but you should see the cheeky
what I meant was, you see, dude, you have to give pause and grace, right? You didn't let me finish my statement. What I meant was that it started off with violence, and sometimes hardships and turmoil and struggle are the foundation needed for growth, development, and excellence. That is what I meant to say. You were seeing the people get beat up, and it captivated your attention.
It did.
But then that initial spark made you stay. And the story later developed into something that you can appreciate, learn from, and implement in various aspects of your life.
It's interesting that you mentioned growing up. And so as I was growing up watching this show, one of the core memories that I have is the show also reached my dad. My dad would see the same thing I'm seeing. And my dad is a strong African man, like the stoic type. Much like how Piccolo and Vegeta are in the show. For those who don't know, Piccolo was a rival to Goku and then became his friend. Vegeta, much the same way. He started off as one of the main antagonists, and over 3 sagas, then learned to, he started off as rough, gruff, and, stoic and mean and grumpy.
Had a big heart.
But, well, very deep down, he had a big heart, and ended up towards the later path of the show until he got revived. He ended up sacrificing his own life in order to save everybody else. And his character development and Piccolo's character development could be his own episode in and of themselves. But we are not an anime podcast. We're going to keep it communications. So why do I bring up those two characters specifically? Because Goku is a happy-go-lucky, everybody wants to be his friend. He's a Desi. But we come for Goku, but we stayed for Piccolo and Vegeta. Why? My dad reminded me a lot of Piccolo and Vegeta. Piccolo in the sense that my dad was, even though stoic on the outside, he was a very kind and warm person deep down. And Vegeta in the sense that, like, I think my dad could honestly lift a truck. My dad is 50, and he's one of the strongest people that I know. And I seen him bench random dad lore. Like, I seen him. I was 18. I was in Senegal. This man pulled out. I went to the gym. This man pulled up to the gym to come pick me up. He saw a bunch of, and these guys were like muscly, but my dad doesn't look like that. He's more like, he's kind of like mid-size. He ain't fat, but like he has a dad bod. He's bulky, So they're benching like 310. 320. So I'm over there watching, and my dad was like, hey, let me get a set of that real quick. And they're like, they look at him like, you sure? You old? And he's like, let me get a set. And he just pumped it out. I still have the video. Remind me to drop that video, like on some, I'll figure out a way to make that a TikTok. But I still have it. He just, like it was nothing. I had never seen him so much as lift 200 pounds, let alone 300. And he just came in there and did that so randomly. It was crazy to me. But I say that because now, imagine you're coming home. You're seeing people who remind you of your father raise, a child in the show in their own way. And yes, there's violence. Yes, there's a story, but it's deeper than that because, and for those who also don't know, we, as in the black community, have adopted Piccolo. He is green. He is green in the show, but we all collectively agree that Piccolo is black. I just want to make and we're in a later episode in season 2. We're gonna unpack why we adopt certain characters even though they are visibly not black. I know, for example, in what's that show called? I think it's The Amazing World of Gumball or something like that.
Oh, Gumball!
Yeah, Darwin, the goldfish.
No, he's black.
He's black. Yeah. But he's not. He's a goldfish for all intents and purposes. Yeah, but he's black.
Even with our mini side tangent, that just went to show that influence component, right?
Right.
We're talking about influence. We're talking about how different things that we saw in the media, different things that we saw on TV, different conversations that we had amongst our peers. We're talking about things that came out before we were born.
Yeah.
We started it while it was well into its development, but we still went back. And even now, it's one of those things where we've gone so far as to have conferences and conventions and competitions.
And cosplay is its own sort of
lifestyle. Okay, it is some people's favorite time of the year. Comic-Con. There's like the DC Comics. There's all sorts of stuff. And I think again, when we think of culture, when we think of principles, when we think of guiding factors that help to shape, foster, and cultivate the way that we think, we have to give credit where it's due.
Yes.
And that kind of goes back to what was the core or the starting point of those shows. What was it that made it such a phenomenon? That is the bigger question here. So why did it gain notoriety?
I have kind of an answer to that.
Tell me.
It's going to be different for different people, but here's what I can generally speak to. A lot of these shows, even Dragon Ball Z, as fantastical as it is, because it's literally about a space monkey man fighting other space monkey men, or whatever Frieza is, and then coming back to Earth and fighting a combination of his cells, and then 10 years later fighting a bubblegum monster for all intents and purposes. That is extremely reductive, but it had me locked in. And here's the thing: shows like Dragon Ball Z. Now we have Demon Slayer, we have One Piece, we have a bunch of other shows, My Hero Academia. We have things that are filling in the void, right? These are all shows that are proud of the medium that they're in, and to some extent weave in their culture, whether it's Japanese culture, whether it's the gi. The gi in this case is the clothing that the characters wear, whether it's the weapons that they use, or the periods that they take place in, or the maybe the nuanced inside jokes that only a Japanese audience might get, that might not translate well. It's people argue whether or not the Japanese dub of the show or the English dub of the show is superior, depending on the show. It is a medium that knows what it is proud of that, and celebrates it at any chance it gets. On top of that, it relies on stories of the past in Japanese culture to tell and weave in stories of the future. And I say that to say, and the reason that it has such a cultural impact, specifically with black audience, the storytelling of it all. It's proud of itself. No matter how ridiculous or goofy it is, it knows what it is. And those stories actually mimic some of the ancient African methodologies of storytelling and the mythologies associated with it, that creates a sort of, not a flashback, but like a deja vu effect. Like, I have seen something like this before. And I think an element that isn't studied enough is Japanese culture and some ancient African traditions, and the black community and the culture of that shake hands and agree on a lot of topics more than what I think the general population is conscious of. If you look at the story of Piccolo and Gohan in Dragon Ball Z, and bringing it back to that, regardless of whether or not you had a mentorship figure in your life, there is a profound element to their relationship that a lot of people can relate to. For all intents and purposes, these guys practically raised each other. Where Piccolo showed Gohan how to be strong and how to be resilient, Gohan showed Piccolo how to be kind, how to be patient, how to be proud of what you are and not let other people judge you because of who you are. As a young black person growing up, you can relate to that. You can understand that. You can understand and resonate how Piccolo might feel. Imagine how many people at early ages have to grow up quick, much like Gohan had to. And to see someone on screen going through the same thing you're going through, even though it's an anime, it still resonates. Because it's like, I see you. You're struggling just like I am. And yet, the world doesn't even know just how much potential you have in you. And one day it's going to explode out. And that's exactly what happened.
I think that there is value, and there is a sense of belonging and value. Value and appreciation for that sense of belonging that was created, right?
Right.
We often say you can't be what you can't see, or you are what you believe yourself to be. So when you have someone or something that you can relate to, it creates a sense of comfort. It creates a sense of pride, honestly. It's like, oh, okay, if he could do it or if she could do it, I can do it too. It's like, okay, yeah, we're living similar lives. We are in tandem, we are in parallel, but that is not an end point, right? We're not stuck where we are. We are not defined by our current circumstance or situation. I think as a young child, again, I said earlier on, I came on the bouncy, flowery, playful side of the arts and of the medium. But there was also conversations about friendship, about loyalty, about pride, just being who you are, being smart. For Boys Over Flower, it was looking at different social classes. For Sailor Moon, I mean, Sailor Moon was just a collection of just different arrays of experiences.
Wait a minute, Sailor Moon, I would say, is actually about the importance of femininity, right? The importance of I'm just a girl.
I am just a girl. But
never once do you forget in that entirety of the show that these girls are not powerful. These girls, for all intents and purposes, are cutesy. If you were to look at someone who looks like Sailor Moon, you would not think that they're strong at all. But, I mean, I think the main character of Sailor Moon, somebody did a study on this, like, would absolutely body Goku, apparently.
She probably could.
Right, that's how powerful she is.
No, but what I'm saying is, it was that duality. It was the ability to show that you can be and do both. Right?
Yes, I agree. You can be girly, in quotation marks, and still be like
a boss.
Straight. I was going to say straight G, but a boss works too.
Girl, it's not beyond us that, we're still in Women's History Month, Women Her Story Month, right? And so it would be a shame for me to not speak on that. I think that we've seen a lot of different women come through the ranks and also come into those writing studios, come into those creative spaces, those storytelling spaces, to make sure that those narratives portray the versatility of women. Yes, with Dragon Ball Z, I don't really think the girlies were there.
Oh no, we have three. We have Chi-Chi, we have, Android 18, she's great, and Videl, I mean,
they were there. They were more like the supporting characters, but they matter too.
That's true. Well, unless you're talking about Dragon Ball, which was the story of Goku when he was a kid. In which case, Bulma was front and center.
She was a primary character.
But if you're talking about strictly Z.
And then with Pokemon, I don't even know what they were doing. They were just...
Pokemon was just every day waking up and choosing violence. That is my personal hot take. Pokemon is more violent than Dragon Ball Z. That is my hot take. It is everyday violence. At least with Dragon Ball Z is like, they had days and episodes where like they're just chilling. There's literally a famous episode, Piccolo and Goku are learning how to drive. And imagine someone who just a 7-foot tall green man learning how to drive. And whereas with Pokemon, it was just on site every day.
I'm going to fight you and I'm going to win. But again, we're going to stick to the narrative, but I want to throw it back to something that maybe our younger listeners can relate to, right. And that's Avatar: The Last Airbender.
That's not technically.
It's not technically, but it is a touch of that influence. And it's bringing in that martial arts with that cartoon influence,
correct,
with that historical context.
And a lot of the inspirations for that show was, need I say it?
Exactly why I brought it up, dude. Just to show you that I don't know anything, but I can see the patterns in the line.
I see your Avatar: The Last Airbender.
When are you gonna raise me?
I raise you Boondocks.
Ooh.
I raise you Boondocks. Not a lot of fighting in that show, but the episodes that have it, now, that for all intents and purposes, that is something that is anime, it is not an anime, but it's anime inspired. It is drawn, and I would be remiss to not talk about this. I want to briefly say,
did you know that the creator of Boondocks went to University of Maryland? Just sorry.
Was it what?
Went to University of Maryland.
Aaron McGruder?
Mm-hmm.
Went to UMD?
Mm-hmm.
Really? What year? Do you know? Look that up for me. I want to circle back and talk about the differences between Western media and Eastern or anime-inspired media. Okay. We have in the Western cartoon world, right? We got Looney Tunes, Tom and hold on, hang in there with me. Looney Tunes, Tom and Jerry. We got Scooby Doo. We got
The Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy.
Yes, Ed, Ed, and Eddie, like I mentioned earlier. We had Samurai Jack. We got Samurai Jack was that's my show. We got
Johnny Bravo.
Johnny Bravo, Proud Family, House of Mouse. It's on Disney. I liked it. We had Teletubbies. We got
Teletubbies.
Relax. We got
Pooh.
Huh?
Inky Binky Lala Pooh.
And I want you arrested for that. We have Powerpuff Girls. We got
wait. What's
hold on, I'm going somewhere
no,
with
wait,
this.
But
All
what's
these
your relationship with these Powerpuff Girls?
I watched that show religiously. I love Powerpuff Girls. I still watch it. It's on Netflix. And I watched it because one of the main villains was Mojo Jojo.
Yeah.
And he always had these elaborate speeches.
He did.
If for those of you who might be wondering,
a great orator.
I tailored some of my speech patterns. Fun fact about me, off of Mojo Jojo.
I believe you.
Because I was infatuated with the way that he always spoke. And how, even though he's a monkey, he's like clearly...
And he's the villain.
And he's clearly the smartest person in the room, getting his ass kicked every episode he's in. And these girls will beat his ass. Man.
You cannot keep saying ASS.
No, I'm sorry. I gotta say it, but...
This is gonna be an explicit episode.
This gotta be, because if you go and watch a compilation on YouTube, they got him on YouTube of Mojo Jojo getting his behind whooped. You will cry with laughter how violent it is. Anyway, I say that to say, all of these shows, the one thing that they have in common, theme of like family and friendship and love conquers all, and
the honor and responsibility and leadership.
In anime, like I said, in the very first 5 episodes, Goku dies. Ain't no power of friendship. I mean, there is literally a trope in anime called the power of friendship. That does happen, but animes take a more, in my opinion, a more realistic approach, despite its fantastical nature, to life. Like, yeah, if you up against otherwise impossible odds, you're going to lose if you're ill prepared. And yeah, you're going to lose people you care about. Ain't no getting them back sometimes. Yeah, you're going to lose an arm. You're going to lose a fight. You're going to get your bones broke. You're going to get your feelings hurt. Nobody is coming back for you.
No one's coming to save you.
No one is coming to save you. You have to pull yourself up by your bootstraps and fight. Because, like, if you don't, it's curtains. If you don't figure it out, with Dragon Ball Z in particular, and later Demon Slayer, and in that show, not to be distracted, but one of a fan favorite character just straight up gets murked. Like, and while he's dying, he gets a vision of his mom. And it isn't some, oh, son, I'm going to save you. Here, take my life force. It isn't something, because he's dying. And it's not, he doesn't ask, the question that he asks is, not was I strong, not was I a warrior. He asks his mother, did I do good enough? To which in the vision she nods, and he passes away with a smile on his face. Western cartoons don't even touch stuff like that. A main character dying, and he gets a vision of his mother. And back to Dragon Ball Z. You got Vegeta, who, his son wants to fight. He's fighting somebody he can't beat. He gets away. His son wants to fight with him. He knows that if his son fights with him, they're both going to die. He knocks his son out on purpose. Gives him to Piccolo and says, yo, look, this is it for me. Turns around and handles business and blows himself up in order to protect everyone else. Western animation isn't really tackling those kind of themes. They don't even show blood. Dragon Ball Z, you got people losing arms, blood, everything. Now, not so much because there's some certain censorship, but back in the day,
it and keeping it safe.
Yeah, they want to keep everybody watching. But when I was coming up, there was blood, people losing arms, legs, blown up, everything. And I noticed that even though this, in my mind, was a cartoon, it's real. Like, these characters are really going through it. And sometimes, yeah, that's life. That's it. And you really just got to eat that and sit there and reflect on how you can be better. And that's what these characters did. And that's why they always bounce back, no matter what life threw at them. And that's something I think the black community knows better than most. We can take, one thing about us, we can take a hit, take a bruising, take a beating. And we always find a way to survive and bounce back.
I think that, again, we're talking, we alluded earlier to some image events, to some significant memories. And one thing that anime offers us, our generation, the generation before us, and even the generation coming after us, is that opportunity to see social issues, different constructs in live time, and attach a powerful story to it.
Right.
There are those characters with multiple layers. They have personalities. They have challenges. They have issues. They have strengths. They have weaknesses. They are very relatable. And it's also an opportunity for different people to resonate and find a bond. Like, everybody's gonna have their favorite. I don't think that you can watch any show and not find at least one character you're willing to root for.
That you find endearing.
You find them endearing. You find them relatable. You find inklings of yourself in their story, in their struggle, in their success. You're willing to root for them to win. And also, I ain't gonna lie, sometimes I'm supporting the villain. Mojo Jojo, he was the bad man.
No, I supported him. I think I was the only one, like, he has a point.
He was a bad man.
I mean, like...
But I say all that to say, it was an opportunity to tap out of our lives, but still be connected.
Exactly.
It was an opportunity for us to see those experiences and to live them through the lens of somebody else. It's like kind of how most people like the drama. They like to hear about the drama. They like to see the drama, but they don't want to be inside the drama. That's kind of what anime gave to us. It was an outside experience of a very inward and in-house livelihood.
While at the same time maintaining that element of entertainment. It wasn't all serious all the time. Correct. And neither is our lives. Sometimes there's moments of peace, there's moments of tranquility, it's calm. Moments where characters reflect and even pray. You know? And Western media, I think, now, especially nowadays, is shying away from that. You know, and you wonder why the cartoons these days just aren't good. You know, like
they're not talking about the real issues. They're not. I think something that and I feel sorry for the younger generation. I don't necessarily know what they watch, and I don't even know what they are doing. Because when I think back to our childhood, when I think back to us growing up, there were various examples that we could take of characters. There's like, oh, when I grow up, I want to be like so-and-so, or I don't want to be like so-and-so. We got to see them fail. But I think now we're in this cookie cutter, pretty perfect world with instant gratification, with everything having to be polished, with a filter. Even our cartoons have to be perfect. I've never seen. They did a remake. Okay, I'm shying away.
No,
now.
Go ahead. Speak your truth. Speak your truth.
They were bringing back American Dragon, right? So that was
what? They're bringing that
back. They did a pilot to bring it back.
When was this?
This was a couple of years back. And I was like,
I missed this.
They freed it so quick. It didn't go anywhere. Because everybody was like, absolutely not. Y'all not going to ruin Jake Long for us. Y'all going to leave him the way he was. We liked it that way. It's kind of like when they bring back things that we've already experienced and it was already good. Or even the Proud Family. When they brought it back,
You know what's crazy? I
didn't see the new.
I get people love it, but like I'm not a fan.
The new one?
The new one.
I haven't even seen it.
I still watch
like the
old.
original.
I like the original, but the new one, I'm like.
I mean, I heard it was good. I heard
it was good.
They could do more.
I'm not. I don't know. It's missing.
It's something.
It's missing something.
But again, I think that goes back to that story.
And what's with all these remakes? They remade Avatar 3 times.
Again, we're trying to tell we know that story sells. We know that story has impact, and we know that story has influence.
Right. Correct.
So we're going to keep using those same storylines and those same characters and those same experiences to kind of further the narrative. Some of the critics or some of the lashback that anime particularly got was, well, it didn't necessarily depict people of different races.
It still has an issue with that.
I mean, but the thing is, when you're watching things, are you really diving deep into the nuances of race, or are you actually trying to understand the story? Like, if you're gonna find a problem, regardless of what it is or what you're doing, if you're looking for a problem, I promise you that you are going to find it. However, if you're looking for a way to have a positive experience, if you're looking for stories and characters that you can relate through because of their struggles, because of their triumphs, because of their relationships with each other, then I think that is something that anime offers us, even to this day. And also, as we're seeing a lot of people going into the graphic arts, as we're seeing a lot of people going into that creative studio as a career, as a profession, as a passion, and we're seeing these conferences, we're seeing these events, it's important to remember that there were so many different layers and so many different battles that had to be fought before they even got to that place. So you cannot necessarily celebrate how glorious it is right now without recognizing and appreciating its humble beginnings.
And that isn't to say like the cartoons that we come out with are bad per se. Some of them are really good. SpongeBob is still going. And I mean, if you ask me, SpongeBob fell off after 2005. But before 2005, I could probably quote you one line from any SpongeBob episode. Seriously, I was tapped in. And Western animation, and as a whole, again, we have classics. We got Tom and Jerry, we got Looney Tunes, we have classics, and their stories may not be as complex as, say, Death Note or JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, but it is, that's an anime, look it up. it is entertaining. It does provide us with characters that we can root for. For the older generation, they was rooting for Jerry. And Jerry was a metaphor for the United States, and Tom was apparently a metaphor for German soldiers in World War II. Apparently. That's a whole other can of worms. But and now we got what's a recent show? We got Regular Show. That's the name of it. Regular. It's a great show. It's probably one of the best shows I've ever seen. You got Regular Show. Like, you have endearing characters that we can root for. The point that we're trying to make here is there is, the shake hand emoji, the black community, anime. There is a symbiotic relationship here. And I implore for more black creatives to try their best, try their hand at becoming mangakas.
Well, I'll even raise to you this, too. Netflix has actually gone into business with a couple of African studios where they're going to be releasing cartoon versions of some popular, like, King and King stories. I mean, even when we look at, I know we're talking specifically about series and about shows, but like I'll just take The Lion King, for example, right? The Lion King is very much the story of Mansa Musa.
What's the story of Mansa Musa?
Mansa Musa was literally the Lion King.
Like, no, but what is the story?
He was literally like, no.
But
your family trying to betray you, kill you, take your throne. I mean, the African trope is very. But I say all that to say, we are seeing a rise in those stories, in those approaches to share art, and I think that we should continue to dive deeper into those intricate relationships. And for my scholars out there, y'all know something.
Please.
Listen, go ahead and study.
Study this.
The influence of art the influence of anime and its impact on culture, or even
on American culture,
on the international spectrum. Like we were speaking about our interaction of it coming from a Western perspective, but I'm pretty sure if I was talking to someone in the Caribbean, they probably would have a different take. Somebody in Latin America that would have a different take.
I don't have any facts to back this up. This is just rumblings on Twitter, but I keep seeing it. Apparently, anytime something Dragon Ball Z related, Mexican cartel, traffic, activities, everything dies down for about 2 days. I have no facts to back that up, but I keep seeing it. Researchers, all my scholars, please, this is a call to action. Research this stuff, please.
Let us know.
When I was doing research for this episode, I could barely find any.
The scholarly articles are very lax.
Very lacking.
There is something to be said about how art influences life, how life is imitated and expressed through art, and also how we can use the lessons that we learn to be better.
Correct. And listen, we don't want to talk y'all heads off, but I just want to end with this. Rest in peace, rest in power to Akira Toriyama. His work has inspired generations of artists, entrepreneurs, YouTubers, TikTokers, myself included. His work is unmatched as far as I'm concerned, and the stories that he has brought to us has a lasting impact on not only my heart, but the heart of millions.
He has made a significant impact, and his influence will continue to live on for generations as we see this art influence and become a catalyst for other stories,
yes,
for other productions.
And when they inevitably remake Dragon Ball Z, I will be here to cover that too. It's coming. It might be 20 years from now, but it's coming. Oh, man. And with that is Touching the Stove.
Thank you all so much for listening. Be sure to like, share, subscribe, comment, send us DMs. I've gotten a couple of DMs because...
Yes, y'all have been dragging Desiree for her hot take on Omale. Let us know if you want us to do an episode on that. And I appreciate y'all dragging her because I said that she was wrong. I said it.
No, you know what? I actually want to use this opportunity to do a public disclosure. This is not some PR tactic or anything like that. I was simply saying that old girl was getting a lot of hate. And as a black woman, it is hard to see another black woman get a lot of hate, especially given the current climate. I do believe that there is a double standard in certain actions, but I also recognize that the actions that were done were immature and inconsiderate to some degree, right? So the situation could have definitely been handled better, but I don't think she deserves to be getting hate mail and threats and things like that. Like, all she did was get on stage and dance. It's not like she kissed the man. And Beyonce said, if I was a boy, you know what I'm saying?
And when your husband, and when Beyonce invites your husband to get on stage, and she takes him backstage and she gives him a little, I want you to remember these words. All he did was get on stage and give a little dance. I want you to remember these words.
So no, but in all seriousness, Du and I are on the TikTok now, right? So that is kind of our way to...
For now, until it gets, banned.
Right. We might have to do an episode on that, right? Like media and how we're going to get our media and the impact that has. But stay tuned for that. But again, like I said, we are on the TikTok as the youngsters like to call it. And that is where we dive into current events, things that are happening while they're currently happening or a little bit after they've already happened. And so that is also another way to engage with us. Same handle, Touching the Stove across all platforms. And we hope you enjoyed today's episode. And that is Touching the Stove.